So now the term is financial independence. You two have actually already achieved it. You may not feel it, but you already have. The old school term was FU money. That's what you got. You got money where you can tell them what to do with the job. We have to get you to feel that in your heart. That's going to go against everything everybody's ever told you. You know, you can't job hop. You can't do this. You can't no, I'm not going to stay at a job that I'm miserable at because I don't need it. That's the freedom you already have.
That does feel nice.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, certified financial planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
I'm Jay. Nice to meet you. Shannon and I have been chatting. Mike, did she drag you here or hey, let's go meet with this weird guy and talk about our finances or?
Yeah, it was the latter. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I saw the note that you tend to be the better one with finances, Mike. Is that kind of what I've seen?
I try to, yeah.
So then, Shannon, why'd you reach out?
Well, because when I saw, so you posted it on the Facebook group, and we had been talking about kind of off the cuff, just saying, yeah, maybe we should meet with someone at some point to talk about finances. And, then we're like, no, we're fine. And so when I saw that, I thought, hey, here's an opportunity. And also might be kind of fun to be on a podcast.
Yeah, being on the podcast and doing your finances is always kind of interesting. But, you get past it. After the first time we do it, you're like, oh, yeah, it's just normal. Why were you kind of debating, hey, we might want to reach out to somebody? Because was there a reason or just kind of check up or what?
I think we'd like to think that we have a good grasp on our finances, but you never know unless you have someone else really give you better or different advice that you're not used to,
Yeah, and I think there wasn't anything in particular we were very seriously worried about. So it's not like we were oh, we have to do this. But yeah, like Mike said, just feeling like we're okay. But are we? Or are we making the right decisions too?
I had somebody once say they wanted to know the unknown unknowns. And I was like, ooh, that sounds good. It's like, what don't I know? And I'm like, maybe that's what I do. I help people with unknown unknowns. Is that about right?
Yeah.
That's right. So tell me about you two. Kind of tell me your story.
Well, we're married. We've been married for 5.5 years. So it'll be 6 years this year. We are kind of old school, new school. We met online, but we met online on Match.com on an actual website, not using smartphones. So new wave, but old school, new wave. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything specific you're looking to know. We live in Connecticut. Mike grew up in Rhode Island. I grew up in Connecticut. Been here in Connecticut for a long time now.
Yeah. Almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, we're New Englanders and child free. We don't have kids and aren't planning on having kids.
Mike, anything you dad?
No. Yeah.
It's our ages. I'm 39. Mike's 40. I'm only 39 for another 3 weeks. So
by the time this airs, you're 39, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah.
But I'm still 39. So I'm going to hold on to that for the next 3 weeks.
That's fair. I actually grew up in Connecticut, so I'm very familiar with the taxes you pay and all the other fun stuff. There's good and bad in Connecticut. I have to say, I used to have a maple syrup farm, and I was down by the shore and loved it. And now I miss it. I'm down in the South. I'm just outside Nashville now. You miss the changing of the weather and the 4 seasons and all that. I don't miss the taxes I paid in Connecticut.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that's not the best part, but you're right. Good and bad to Connecticut.
And so we're almost at 40-ish. What do you want the next 40 years of your life to look like?
That's a good question. I think, as we were talking about doing this, and I've been listening to some of the other podcasts too, and, that's one of the things that, I feel like you've talked about is, well, what are the goals? And then I kind of realized, I think that's probably something we have to work on and figure out what we want to do, because we know we have some shorter term goals and some longer term. I mean, I think we know, some thoughts of when we retire. We both like to travel. And, one of the things I want to do eventually is kind of do a cross country road trip and take our sweet time doing it and things like that. But otherwise, we don't really yet have, I feel like, major goals of what the next, 30 or 40 years are going to be.
So for you, Mike, you good with what it is? You're like, 40 years, I'm just going to keep, hanging out?
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to be working in 40 years. I'd like to retire as early as convenient. I say that now, but I try to stay active, and I try to keep my mind sharp, and I feel like work kind of like drives that too, so I'm kind of in a tough place to like realize right now. It's like, do I want to retire at 57, or should I just kind of hold on until I get too sick of it?
Well, and one of the things too that, we've heard talked about is kind of do you want to retire early or live early? And I feel like we're kind of a mix of the two, if that can be a thing, like trying to plan to, yes, retire on the earlier side, but also knowing that you don't know you're going to make it to 56. Let's make sure we're also living, how we want to live now. Kind of a little bit of both, I guess.
But Mike, you just kind of sold yourself out. You said, hey, if I retire, you're going to like lose your mind or whatever. Would you really retire and not work, or what would you do?
That's a good question. I'd like to adventure. I do like to travel. I travel a little bit for work. That's definitely on the docket for the future. I have a ton of hobbies that I rotate through. So things like that, just to keep me going. Yeah.
How about you, Shannon? Would you want to work, cut back on work? You want to like cut out and like never work? I mean, what's your picture?
I think probably maybe a little. I mean, I like the idea of, having the time to do, the traveling and those adventure things that we like to do. But, maybe in the downtime, getting a job at like TJ Maxx or Marshall's during their holiday season, and not being stressed out about it because I don't have to be. But something, to keep busy, because I certainly don't want to, become stagnant and then just not do anything. Would want to keep, like Mike said, keep yourself sharp as long as possible.
I'm not hearing working at TJ Maxx is a fun job during the holidays, but all right, like that's what you like.
Well, it's my mom always talks about, she doesn't celebrate Christmas. She doesn't do holidays. And she's always like, sometimes around Christmas, it's fun to go to the mall and just see people, rushing around trying to get gifts just because I don't have to. And, so it's kind of that thought, like everyone's in a rush and hurried. But, if you're retired and just working for fun, you're like, yeah, great. Next person in line, I'll help you out.
I'm laughing. We had a discussion today. We have a marketing officer. We're talking about, where do our clients shop? Because if you know where they shop, you know where they're, and I actually came with Marshall's. Like something fun, a little bit of fun, a little bit of money, but not really expensive, kind of like the Hunt and TJ Maxx, right? Type of thing. So I guess we're on the same page at least. So let me ask it this way. If you had a choice, travel more now or retire and travel more later?
I mean, we do travel some now. I mean, we have a trip in May coming up to Europe, and, we do that. We've done a little bit here and there. Obviously, COVID put a wrench in things, but, so we have our travel once a year. I mean, I would love to travel more, but I also feel like, with the jobs I have and want to have too, it's not like I can take 2 months off and come back and have them be okay with that. It sort of feels like, it would be nice to have more time to travel, but I'm kind of okay with what now and then doing more when we retire, as long as we do it now.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Shannon. We try to plan one bigger trip a year, and then we'll do a week of camping or something during the summer. I get a bit more time off than Shannon does, but we try to make the best with the time off that we have.
And Mike, talk to me about the hobbies. Are we doing expensive hobbies, cheap hobbies, somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between. Just
like what? What type of hobbies? Come on.
Let's see. I like to build guitar effect pedals, and I just went there. So music, photography, video games. I just got a 3D printer.
Things. He rebuilt our entire kitchen and bathroom from scratch completely, and they're beautiful.
A lot of little things that come and go. Yeah, but I like learning new things too.
That's fair. Shannon, how about you? What do you like to do in your free time?
I have probably a quarter of the hobbies. Together we like to do a lot of the outdoor stuff. We like hiking and camping and things like that. And I'm a big reader, so I like reading. And, I have I hate saying like TV is part of a hobby, but we have shows that we like to watch and
I'm with you.
And just recently also started trying to learn to crochet and piano. Been learning that too. It's something I've always wanted to learn. But I don't have too many because I kind of stick to the ones I like, and I'll try things, and if I'm not into it, then I don't. That's it. I'm good.
That's fair. So what I'm hearing is we're kind of good with where we're at. Nothing broken, but it's kind of like, well, what? Let me ask it this way: what do you push towards? Is there anything hey, we have a goal, we have we want to achieve X by Y or anything like that?
I think we have a few things. Honestly, I feel like that when we talked about this recently too, because I was just listening to the Childfree Midlife Crisis, and I was like, yes, that is, I feel like where we're at right now. But, we do have some small term goals, we're pretty close to paying off our mortgage, and we want to be able to do that because what are we, a year?
Yeah, about a year. Yeah.
From doing that. And I think you're going to say something too. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I think those are the short-term things, but then I think that's kind of what we've been thinking about, and maybe why this is kind of this is good timing for this to figure out, well, okay, we like where we're at, but what else, can we do with kind of the time and, not having kids, the freedom that we have to do what we want with, the money. And now that we're in pretty decent place, we feel like. So I think that's kind of the mortgage is something we're kind of focused on right now. So that's kind of the push for myself to I'm kind of focused on work and potentially doing something new. So that's kind of my focus too. But then, I think about, okay, well, when I get there, then what?
Do we need a career change, or we just kind of move up the ladder?
Not a career change, not even necessarily moving up the ladder, just like what I do, just not my current position.
I'm going to ask some fun questions. We'll dig into Mike. Shannon's seen some of this in the podcast, but I'll get back to you in a second. Mike, I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and we'll see where it goes. So the first one is, if you had all the money in the world, could do anything you want for now and in the future, what would you do?
Oh, boy. All the money in the world? Yeah, I'd probably go traveling and seeing the world. A lot to experience out there.
Anything else? So you wouldn't work, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, no way. No way. Not in the sense of a job that I'm required to go to, daily. Yeah, volunteering, sure. Totally good with that. But.
I was having a conversation with somebody who makes the guitar pedals and stuff and sells them. I mean, you could make that a side business, but
Nope, there's nothing in that. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, saturated market.
All right, so let me try the second question. So the second question is, you're at the money you have now. I took away all that money I just gave you.
Yep.
And you go to the doctor. And the doctor says, I got bad news. You got 5 years to live.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? What would you change?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'd probably keep working. I'd probably try to get the biggest nest egg I could for Shannon to hopefully live a comfortable life. That would be my top priority, I would say. And I would still want to see probably certain things, around the world or something like that. Definitely securing future for Shannon would be my priority.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm not just saying that because we're on camera either. All right.
But by the way, for the people, if you're listening, you got to go see the video and see Shannon's face when and Mike, you need to watch that. All right. So the third question is, you go to the doctor. He says, sorry, made a mistake. You have 24 hours to live. What'd you miss? What'd you not get to do? What'd you not get to be?
Man. Yeah, let's see, because you don't really have a lot of time, right, at that point to do the things that that your short-term goals or long-term goals and stuff like that. I'd like to reflect that I'd had a pretty decent life. I'd really like to think that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I have a great answer for you right now.
Anything you'd miss or regret?
Anything I'd regret, not going to see in the future. We all have plenty of regrets of things mistakes made in the past, but things that I would not have done in the, no, I don't think I necessarily would. I don't think there's anything that's really driving me that strongly that I have to do and see, I'll try to make the best of any situation, whether it's a vacation or what have you.
So Shannon, now I'm going to ask you the same 3. So let's go with the first one. So you got all the money in the world. You can do anything. What would you do?
Yeah, same answer. I feel like it's funny. That seems to be a common answer. But yeah, if I could just not work, that'd be great. Definitely would like to travel the world. I'd probably still want to do something, in free time and downtime, it's kind of volunteering, something like that. I think that's probably the only extra thing I would add in there. But yeah, just being able to go places I've always wanted to go and not have to worry about it.
So the second question, I took away your money. You got 5 years to live. What would you do?
I genuinely wish I could say, because I've already thought about this question, that I would want to make sure Mike was okay, but that was not my initial thought.
Go with your original answer, not off, not cheat off of him.
I think, when I first thought about it, it was, okay, if I only have 5 years, I don't think I would, if I knew it was 5 years, I probably wouldn't stop working right away, especially because in that work, I wouldn't want to just abandon people, and I want to make sure things were kind of squared away before I left, but I definitely would not work for the 5 years. I don't think, anyway. I think then I start to think more about spending time with family and friends and trying to get to, certain places that are important to me that I've, have wanted to go and travel. I just think my dad was born in Hungary. I've always wanted to go there. So that's something I feel like, okay, I got to get there in the next 5 years. But yeah, I think for me, it would definitely be important to spend that time with my, friends and family. And
okay. So which question is coming next. So you got 24 hours to live. What'd you regret? What'd you not miss? What'd you miss? What'd you not get to do? What'd you not get to be?
I think, part of me feels like I might feel like today, did I spend enough time with my family? My parents and one of my brothers with their kids live, 25 minutes away from us. Not highway, just all back roads. So it's really not that far. They're the next town over. We don't see them all the time, but I don't, it's like in the moment, I don't feel like we don't see them enough. But thinking about, okay, if I only have 24 hours, did I spend enough time with them? So I kind of think about that a little bit. Obviously I would have wished to get to places like Hungary, but that wouldn't be it's not something that I would regret necessarily. It would just be more regretful that I didn't have the time to do it. But I think I kind of agree with Mike that for the most part, I think we've done our best to live our lives the way we want to, and are, we're very fortunate, privileged people that we've been able to do that. So I think that makes it a lot easier to say, I think I, obviously don't want to die in the next 24 hours, but feel okay with how I've lived my life for the most part.
Any surprises from either of you on each other's answers?
Not really. No.
No, I think I know her well enough. I think that it's a spot. Yeah.
Okay, so in light of those answers, what do you need to change today?
Well, maybe make our next trip Hungary.
Yeah.
That was an obvious one to me.
Yeah.
No, I think, and I've been thinking about this a little bit more recently that, okay, maybe I do need to just reach out to my family a little bit more. And again, I see them. It's not like I don't, but maybe just attempt to put in a little bit more effort to spend time with them, and maybe a little bit more effort to spend time with friends too. I think not that we don't see them, but I think a lot of times, Connecticut's a small state, but nobody really lives near us. And, we're not in a city, so it's not like that there are easy places to meet up. And so most of our friends are like 45 minutes away. So it just kind of feels like an event to go. And so, maybe just trying to put in a little bit more effort there.
Mike, anything jump out at you?
No, nothing additional. I agree with Shannon there. Yeah. A little more effort, spend time with friends, probably. Now, granted, Mike, we are 40 also, and I feel like we're pretty lucky to have the friends that we have, and they are pretty close. We do see them at least monthly,
Yeah, my wife and I have had this discussion about how friends change over time, especially the people that with kids and not, and like they fade off, and finding that balance is a challenge.
I was going to say, interestingly, a lot of our friends also don't have children and that are married. That's rare, I would say.
So you found the right corner of it, I guess.
Yes.
All right, I'm hearing things are going well. And in general, if you two did the same thing for the next 10 years, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think because Mike has talked about, finding adventure, and I think we find it in the ways we can, and that's good for us. For us, an adventure could be if we both have the day off, going to check out, a town in the Berkshires, which is, really close to us where we are, and just exploring the town for the day. And that's kind of an adventure for us. And we like doing things like that. And I think those are the things that we enjoy doing kind of in the meantime until we can do those bigger things like the cross country road trip, or, traveling for more extensive periods abroad and things like that.
But we do have to plan a Hungary trip sometime in the next 10 years. I'm just saying. Like, I saw that. Okay. Why are you paying off your house?
I think this is a very loaded question.
I'm asking about goals right now. I'm not asking about money even. You know, like we always try to figure out what your life you want to live first and then your finances.
I think the way I was raised and brought up and just my, thought on finances is I'm striving to be debt free. When Shannon and I got married, like immediately tried to pay off the rest of her student loans together. I had paid off mine. I lived as cheaply as I could to pay off my student loans as soon as I could. So this mortgage, now granted, I bought at a decent time. It's a smaller home. It's like the end's in sight, and it's just like having that financial freedom to like not have to worry about that to me is worth a lot more than like throwing it in some mutual fund or something like that can obviously make a lot more money than what I'm paying on interest on the mortgage. I put more value in that than having that freedom and flexibility of being debt free than seeing my bank account go up.
I'm good with that.
I was just saying, Mike has also said before too, with the mortgage paid off, if something happened to us, it's also a little bit of a weight lifted if, you're not able to work the same way we are and making the same money we are, to know, okay, well, at least, we own our home. This is our home. We're here and we're good.
And I'm assuming there's no other debt.
No other debt.
I didn't think so. How much is left in the house?
We have money in a bond, for lack of a better term. We have about $42,000 in that, and we have about $73,000 left on the house. So we have about $31,000, effectively left on the house.
Do you have an emergency fund also?
Yeah.
What's your normal monthly expenses, like total? Between
mortgage and food and all that. Oh, geez. That's where we're not good at, is tracking stuff like that.
We might have to get to that.
Yeah. And we have other stuff too. Like we put money aside in different accounts for different things. So it's really tough to really estimate.
Before I met Mike, because again, Mike is much better with finances than I was, but I had to track everything because I didn't necessarily, I was really living paycheck to paycheck. So I had to know everything that I was going to be spending for the month, really based on my 2-week pay period. I write everything down, as well as how much money I thought I might spend, on the weekend, or on, if I had a friend getting married, what I was going to spend for the wedding and things like that. So I had a spreadsheet and I religiously followed it, because I had one time in my, early 20s where I overdrafted my bank account. And I was like, all right, never again. And so I did that. And then when we got married and combined our finances, it almost was like too complicated. And it felt like, I wasn't worried about us overdrawing our bank account anymore. And so I kind of I was like, all right, well, we're fine. And I haven't done that really since we got married. I completely have lost sight of how much we actually spend on things, and we don't really hold back. If we want to go out to dinner, we go out to dinner. I definitely don't know what our finances, as far as like what we spend on those kinds of things, are.
Yeah. And I think the challenge is, if you don't know how much you spend, well, then how much are you going to put in an emergency fund? How much do you have to set aside? What happens if you lost a job? What would it cost? It becomes hard to figure that out. It also, really, the question about, well, when can you retire is hard to answer too, because you don't know what your expenses would be. What's your mortgage payment?
So mortgage, taxes, insurance is just about $1,550 a month.
And about how much you guys make in a year? So I'll go backwards and I can actually get to your number.
Yeah, combined?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or individual, either way.
You're combining everything together, so it doesn't really matter.
230-ish, probably a little more than that at this point. That might change, but
it might go up or down.
Potentially down, depending on what type of position I move into. My background is in social work, which doesn't tend to pay as much. So when I'm looking around at places, sometimes it might be a pay cut.
That's fair. And you're going to do that job change sometime this year?
I'm hoping to. I'm also hoping nobody I work with listens to this, but yeah.
Luckily, it's not going to air for a while, so you're okay. So you two bring in $12,000, $13,000 a month. Sound about right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that after taxes and after other, we have money going to a Roth IRA, that's $500 odd bucks a month. And then money going to our allowances or money going into another fund. So our paychecks are a lot smaller than what they should be, just because of money that gets siphoned off of it. But yes, that's what he says.
And by the way, be careful because we're getting close to the Roth phase outs. So you might not be able to contribute a full Roth amount.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, look at that. We already learned something.
230 is the cutoff. So depending on what the number actually ends up, it becomes an issue.
Pre or post tax.
That is gross. This is where it becomes one of those things. Yeah. You got to watch 230 to 240 is where it is for next year. You're right on that line. So when you get to bonus or something and we have issues. Shannon's like, okay, I can take a cheaper job then. No.
Yeah.
We'll come back to what you put in retirement accounts and all that. But the bottom line is you got, 13 some odd. And if I looked then, I said, all right, you got $500 going here. Then how much do you think you're saving across the year into accounts, between your different buckets you just?
Well, that's really hard to estimate too, because the way we kind of run our finances, I guess, is we have our joint account, our joint checking account, and most of our paycheck gets dumped into that. And once that hits a certain point, we kind of take a chunk of that and put it towards the mortgage. Then we're also putting 20 grand a year into these savings accounts for the mortgage. So we're probably saving, 40 to 50,000 a year, maybe. We certainly don't have that much in our direct bank accounts, but
then we also both have retirement plans, and right now I max out what I can put into my 403b, and then I think you max yours out too, right? Yeah. So we both max out the amount that we can contribute to retirement. Oh, sorry.
I said you'll talk about that later.
Oh, don't worry about it. Wherever it comes up. By the way, while we're there, Shannon, do they have because you have 403b, do they have a 457b option at work?
I don't know what that is. I don't think so. But
that's why I'm mentioning it, so you can look it up. By the way, in between these meetings, the next one, we'll have you fill out a financial information form. We'll pull all the information. We'll actually get the real numbers. I'm just trying to get ballpark. Most or a lot of nonprofits offer a 457b, which is a deferred compensation program. It allows you to put another $23,000 aside. The bonus of that is you get access to it when you leave the job versus waiting to 59 and a half.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
In healthcare, they're very common. Yeah. I know a few of the places in the area, so if you work for one of the big areas up there, they do have it. A few of the big healthcare organizations. So we'll get you there, but that's one of those. If I'm doing back at a napkin math, I'm going to say your monthly expenses are somewhere around $7,000 or $8,000 a month. And here's the reason. I took out everything you were saving, and what's left over is about $7,000 to $8,000 a month.
Yeah, that seems like a lot. But
it's including, when you say expenses, that's the mortgage that we're paying, not this that we save to pay off, but that we're actually paying monthly, right? So monthly plus,
mortgage plus another $5,000 or $6,000.
I feel like, we always talk about all the sort of random things, that we end up spending money on, like when you were building our kitchen, the materials to do that, or the materials for the bathroom, and then, filling the oil in the tank and vet bill for our dog, or, just those random kind of big things that we're always like, okay, we're good for a while. We don't have any big expenses. And then we're like, oh, but I forgot about this. My car registration just came up. There's always something.
Yep. What's happening is you two are making enough money. We jokingly say you're out earning your stupid. Yeah, you can earn enough money that doesn't make matter how many mistakes you make.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you, Shannon, you were like, hey, when I was paycheck to paycheck, I had to keep buying everything. What I'm hearing, and we'll go through the exact numbers, but I'm sure I'm close. You're spending $2,000 to $3,000 a month on stuff. Now, what does stuff mean? It is random stuff. Which, by the way, I had somebody, client actually added up how much they spent on DoorDash for a year. You didn't want to know that number. It's just whatever the stuff is. Amazon's my bad habit. So we all have stuff. And one of the questions becomes, do I want stuff or do I want the trip to Hungary? What's your answer, Shannon?
I can't say both. No.
Well, you can, but see, if you say both, then that's going to slow up your retirement.
Right. No, I think I like our lifestyle, I guess, because it is refreshing to not have to track every penny and feel like, okay, this is okay. But I think, I don't know. That is a tough question because I feel like it's the stuff that kind of makes the living now, like you are doing that, So exactly, if we want to go out to dinner, we go out to dinner. We don't. Would I want to give that up just to do one trip? Probably not. But I feel like we kind of do, in a sense, have both because we do those things, and we are still doing a trip this year, and we had actually looked into going to Hungary, but I got a little overwhelmed with the planning because despite the fact that my dad was born there, I do not speak the language. All I really know are, terms of endearment from my grandparents. And I was like, I don't know anything about it. Like, we can't do this. And so we kind of picked something that we felt was a little easier to navigate, or at least I did. So I sort of feel like we can do that. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I guess I don't have an answer.
I'm not judging. Like, I have my own stuff budget problem, okay? I always try to be honest and say, like, nobody's perfect on it. It's a judgment call. And it's a question of what brings you more joy or not. And one of the things is, I was poking around different goals, bigger picture. We didn't really come into anything. Let's just, they kind of got some generic ones. For example, it may be that if you cut your stuff budget in half, you can retire 3 years earlier. Is that worth it? Whatever it is. And it's okay if the answer is, nope, just want to tread water. I'm good. But you have to realize there is a give and take, because I worry you two are going to pay the mortgage off. And by the way, you probably could have paid it off by now, but we'll come back to that. You'll pay the mortgage off this year. And now you're like, all right, cool. So that hole we were putting $40,000 a year into, what do we do with it?
We thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know. We thought about it, and we truly don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's like, yeah, I would love to take a bunch of trips a year, but then it does become that, well, I don't have the time off, and I don't necessarily want to quit my job to be able to travel for 2 months to then find another job. Other than my specific position right now that I don't necessarily love, I do like what I do, and I don't want to, give that up. And I think, realistically to keep living, I think the way we do, it's like, well, you do need to have a job to be able to make enough money. And I don't feel like, I'm not feeling like, okay, I've got to get more money and more money because, I feel like we're okay where we are now, which is, why, we've kind of felt like, well, if I do end up taking a pay cut for something else, that it's okay because we can still, maybe we'll have to cut out a night out here or there, but
you're not cutting anything. You're cutting stuff. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah. So it's, it's okay. And now I forget where I was going with that. So I'll just end it there.
Shannon, have you thought about, you've listened to the podcast. Have you thought about taking a sabbatical and just trying to figure out what you want to do?
No, because I do know what I wanted to do. And I feel like, I did have that at one point, and I just kind of ended up in a position sort of out of other choices I made that wound me up here. And I mean, I love where I work. It's just my actual position right now is not what I want to be doing. And I work a lot. I almost was late for this because I got stuck at work. It happens a lot. I work on my days off and things. So I don't love that. And I don't want to have to do that. But I kind of feel like I know what I want to do. I mean, I didn't start off with, when I graduated from college, my background was in history and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I kind of figured that out and then went back to school for social work. And I like that. So I feel okay with that. I don't feel like I need to necessarily take time off to figure it out.
By the way, I'm fishing. I'm just being honest. I'm fishing for what life you want to go to. And what I'm going to do, by the way, is I'm stirring up your brain, and we're going to send you homework after this and different things to read and think about it. And really the answer will come as we're working through it. Because you two are, Shannon, you'll get to the other episode, which came out today. We went from the child-free midlife crisis to the boring middle. And you two are like in the middle of both of those. Kind of like, you got your goals, you caught the car, now what?
And I think, as we're talking, I think my kind of fear with, and maybe that's what the boring middle is going to be about, I started it this afternoon on my drive, but didn't finish, but is, I'm just afraid of getting stuck in a rut and then being like, okay, well, we have, what are we doing? And I feel like we do work, like, I don't feel like we're in that situation now, but I worry about, that's kind of my fear is just being in a rut and being like, okay, here we go out to, our favorite restaurant again that we've been to a million times. And it's great and we like it, but what else?
Well, yeah, right. And we might get to a point where, I'll challenge you. Okay, no, we're not going to Hungary. We're going to do like the Antarctica cruise on the high end thing and do better travel instead of more often. I don't know. It's just a question of what are the goals that get you up in the morning? Because there is a point where you're like, am I just going through the paces? And this is the problem for child-free folks. You hit your personal, professional, financial goals, and you're like, is that all there is? Like, what's next? Because, so I'm 45, so we're close enough all in age. People our ages, many of them that have kids, they've put their goals onto their kids. They're working on getting the right college and the school. So they shift their goals. Mike, you pay off the house. What's your next goal? We're debt-free completely. You own everything in the world.
Again, that's what I was saying, where we thought about it, and I'm not really sure. I think, whether it's between an early retirement or or the cruise to Antarctica or something like that, like a higher living vacations, we most certainly could afford that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I've always been fairly frugal. So a lot of my trips have been really bare bones, but we got the most out of it. We traveled to what we're comfortable with and really, really get to do some fun things. And not just with Shannon, but in my previous life. So yeah, so maybe stepping outside of that comfort zone is definitely not comfort zone. Financial comfort zone should be a good goal.
Yeah. I think you've been doing better with that. When we first got married, it was like, well, I'm not spending, this much money on, I don't know, bread. That's crazy, and it just kind of, those little things what? Yeah, exactly. Our first vacations we still on vacation, right? So it's not like we were really living that cheaply, but you were very conscious of it. And now I feel like I can feel loosening that up a little bit and being a little bit more open to spending more, and which I think is great. And I love that because that's kind of, I guess, what I think, would be really nice is maybe spending a little bit more on those trips and on, doing things that maybe we wouldn't have done before because we're able to. But I also don't want to go too crazy either, because then I get worried. I'm like, well, I don't want to blow all of our money. We still have to make sure we can live when we're older and retire. So yeah, I guess kind of finding that happy ground.
Yeah, we call it the blueberry problem, where you're buying the frozen blueberries for $1 cheaper than the fresh blueberries. We're like, just buy the fresh blueberries, seriously. Yes. I'm sure Mike has something like that.
Oh,
well, many things.
Probably everything at the grocery store. Yeah.
Somebody else said, "Can I afford the second margarita?" I'm like, just buy it. Seriously. The challenge is that mindset that got you here to get you out of debt is not the one you want forever. So let me test this. And I'm going to ask Mike the question first, and I'll double check with Shannon. So Mike, do you care how much money you have to pass on to the next generation?
No, I don't. There's no next generation.
Shannon?
Same. If I did have money, we have 11 nieces and nephews and the 12th on the way. I'm like, if we did have money, I would not be sad if it ended up going to our nieces and nephews. But, with that many, it would probably be a very small amount split between 12 ways.
And by the way, one word to help you, nibblings is the name for nieces and nephews together, like siblings. It's nibblings.
Nibblings. Okay.
Just in case you need a word. It's just one of those fun, crossword words you'll use at some point. But the way I say it is, our nephews get what's left over. If they get 10,000 or 100,000, I'm fine with that. If they get $1 million, I made a mistake. Is that fair for you too?
Yeah, I guess so. I think my thought is, if I still did everything I wanted and we happened to be, wow, we still had $1 million left over, that's okay. I'm okay with them getting $1 million, But if it meant that we didn't do something, I don't know. Now I just feel like that sounds selfish. No, I don't want you guys to have the $1 million. I want me to have it. But
here's what I say for my nephews. Look, we have 529s for them where we've got college fund and all that. And they can use the money more now than when we're 80 and die and they're 60. That's the truth of it. There's a point. Because here's where I'm going. So now you're completely debt free. We're making $230,000 a year. There's a point, and we'll actually figure out the exact point. It's closer than you think it is, where every extra dollar you earn is going to your estate, which you don't care about.
And it is true. I'm not actively trying to have money to leave behind. It's just, I feel like if I did, as long as, we still did what we want to do, sure, that's fine. They can have it. But I'm not, that's not necessarily a goal. Sorry, nibblings.
No, but Mike's over here buying the cheap stuff, everything, saving every penny so we can put $40,000 a year towards the house or something like that. Wasn't that the number or something like that? We'll put a lot.
Yeah. Plus. Yeah.
Okay. So we're putting 40,000+ a year towards the house. That house is paid off in the next 6 to 12 months. You're still buying the cheap blueberries And now we have $40,000 plus now we don't have a mortgage. So now it's like $70,000 that's just adding to the bank account and adding zeros. Does that bring you happiness just to collect numbers?
I don't think it's about that for me. I think it's out of principle. You get gouged on a lot of things at the grocery store, and I just can't support that.
Okay, like Whole Foods, that might as well just be whole paycheck that's gone. I'm going to Aldi to shop. I'm with you. But like, my point is, at some point, we need to figure out how to use your money to bring you more joy, not just add to the bank.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. We splurge on certain things, food related, but just some things may not give me more joy than it would be worth if I just put it aside or something like that. Not that that really gives me much joy, but paying off the mortgage really does.
So how much money do we have in savings right now? Not in brokerage or investment accounts or retirement, just in total in savings. So you got some bonds and other things.
I mean, I have my personal account, but that's in bonds and stuff like that.
I thought we did everything combined. Which one is it?
No. So when we got married, we each had our personal accounts, and then we basically took just $2,000 each, put it in a joint account, and then we put our paychecks towards that, and everything that we had prior to the marriage, we kept. So I had some money. Yeah. So we probably, in savings alone, between our checking account and our savings account, we probably have about 40,000.
So that 40,000, by the way, I would mark as your emergency fund. 6 months of expenses. Okay. So those other bonds are in your account, not that. Is that what you're saying?
No, we do have bonds that we've put towards the government bonds, right? So we have those that is joint that we are planning to use for the mortgage. And then Mike has his own that he did with his money that he had before we got married.
Yeah.
Okay. We could pay off this house in the next 3 to 6 months.
I mean, if we took the money that we have stashed aside, we could probably pay it off right now. Yeah.
So why don't you?
Because we don't want zero in the bank account.
2 months from now, you won't have zero in the bank account. You could pay it all off by the end of April.
Yeah. We have a fairly low interest rate too, and like I mentioned earlier, the bonds have a higher interest rate than what the mortgage interest rate is. So it would cost us money to pay the mortgage off. Not that it's going to be a lot. And I know long term, you're better off, with the higher interest rate, but I'm not going to get to that.
I'm not even talking about the finances. I'm just talking about your goals. You said it's a goal. Why isn't it just done?
I think we both like the cushion. I think we do. We like to have that financial cushion.
I mean, and the savings too, we have a high yield savings account. It is our emergency fund, but it's also Mike has this very nice plan with certain things, like for us to be able to get a car every 10 years. And, we just got Mike a car last November and paid it in full. And that was kind of our plan, to not have that debt anymore. And part of that is also our vacation fund, which we've never actually pulled out of the savings for the vacation, but it's there. That's the idea, is we're saving for the vacation so we can then, pull from there. We just haven't actually.
But that's in the same account as our savings, as our savings account, but I don't count it as savings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's money that we need to spend on a car and vacation and stuff like that. So that's not savings to me.
Okay, so if I add up the total of everything you own, all your retirement accounts, your savings, your house, everything, what's it worth?
We actually just calculated this. I think we came up with our assets minus our debt on the mortgage, so $1.1 million.
Okay, so $1.1 million. How does that feel?
Honestly, to me, it was I don't know, kind of weird.
I don't really care.
And crazy.
It's a lot. Yeah. We're certainly doing better than a lot of people out there. Not rubbing it in. But yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. And I don't know, I want to look towards the future.
You're like, I'm a millionaire, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't feel I'm like, they're not actually millionaires to be.
You are. $1.1 million net worth, you're millionaires.
Yeah. Just
it's only
real.
It's $550,000 each. So I'm not quite a millionaire.
You two said you're doing finances together.
Yeah.
We have 1.1 million. Okay. Here's the thing. You two are doing some mental accounting is what we call it. We have this money goes here and this doesn't go here. That doesn't count. This goes, $1.1 million. If you came to me and said, hey, I'm going to have the house paid off in 6 months, and we're going to retire the day after, you could do that. Now, by the way, you'd have to cut back on your stuff budget, but you could retire that. Shannon, what are you thinking? I'm trying to read your face, and you're over here like...
Just like, that doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
If you don't have a house payment, your actual living expenses are probably $3 or $4 grand a month.
Yeah.
I'm not talking savings. I'm not talking putting money away. I'm talking expenses to live without a mortgage. Am I wrong on that?
Granted, like you said, we live in Connecticut, and car tax bills would be over $1,000. You know, that's a lot. And we don't have that nice of cars. The property tax bill is high for a single-story ranch. It's an older house, 1962, so there's always upkeep. And between gas and food and stuff like that, yeah.
Right. So, okay, I go 4,000 plus, because we got property tax with the giant and all that, but we have no mortgage. You still could, in theory, retire this year.
I suppose in theory, right? But I feel like then we wouldn't be able to continue living the way we did, right? We'd have to cut out the stuff. And sometimes, I don't know, I feel like as terrible as it sounds, I'm like, but the stuff is, that's what we do. We like going to those towns to explore and being able to walk into the bakery and buy the $7 scone that he is actually okay with buying, on those.
The scone's okay, but not the grocery store. Got it. All right.
Not the $13 loaf of sourdough at the local bakery. That's where I draw the line.
Oh, my wife loves those, okay? Like, we moved to the South and we can't get seeded rye like you can up in the Northeast. And she you find a seeded rye, she'll pay whatever the price is. Like, we also don't get bagels down here. Bagels she pays way too much for. All right, so let me play this out. So now we get to our net worth to $2 million, which, by the way, is about 7 years from now for you. At $2 million, you can retire with the current expenses about $7 grand a month. So you can't afford your stuff budget.
I'm okay with that.
It's just, I'm like, what? No, it's really hard to actually believe.
It's a whole lot different than Mike's picture about retiring at 57. We're saying 47 instead. Shannon doesn't believe me. That's okay. That's my job to teach. We'll do we're going to do a whole financial plan. We're going to lay this out. But, somebody's got, 80 grand a year of expenses, needs about $2 million. If they're going to die with zero, which is what you said. So what that means, remember I said, sometime soon you're going to be making money that's going to go to your state. We'll do the actual math. We're going to get stupid nerdy on it. We'll actually do simulations and all that. But that means somewhere between now and late 40s, every dollar you earn is going to your state, which is not a priority. So by the way, Shannon, to your question about can I take a lower paycheck? Yeah, you could quit your job and never work again.
All right. I don't want to.
The lower paycheck's fine with me. She's very stressed at her job, and it's worth it.
By the way, Shannon, I'm going to give you kind of a little freebie. Here's what I want you to think about. What job, which really sounds like not necessarily a task, maybe where the environment or who you work, all that. What job would you do for free? Solve that question first, then get paid to do it. Because it really doesn't matter what you get paid. So if you're like, hey, I always wanted to work with this population at this place, but they pay crap, that's okay. Mike doesn't agree on that one.
No, we tried this experiment and it didn't work.
The thing is, I did do that, which is how I ended up working in this job. And I'm sorry if we're keeping it, because it's been an hour already. But I did do that. I left a job that I actually enjoyed very much to do what was kind of my dream job and what I had the intent of me going back to school for social work was. And it was a big pay cut. And Mike was very hesitant and didn't want me to take it. But was like, I'm still going to support you. But I don't want you to take it. And I took it, and it backfired. Not so much because of the pay, but it was just another very stressful job, and, overworked and felt very taken advantage of. And I felt like the people that I worked with were also very taken advantage of. And there were things that when I got there were completely different than what I had asked about in the interview. And it was not what I thought it was going to be. So, my dream job turned out to really, the work itself, if the things with the place I went to work for, the work itself was good. It's just, it was more the organization. But, it could have been, I think, okay. But, I felt like I left a job that I liked. And so it's like, I know what I would like to do, and I'm certainly trying to do it. It's just, it's not always that easy to get another job. I can say, I want to do that, and I can apply for the job. Doesn't mean they're going to hire me.
That's a different question. What I'm trying to do is aim you in a direction and say, follow your dreams, don't worry about the paycheck. And by the way, your dreams, what I've heard a lot from you is the work environment, who you're working for, the structure matters. And let's be real, healthcare right now kind of sucks in a lot of ways. I was in healthcare, got burnt out, and I realized it's all about finance. I'm like, if I'm going to be in finance, I might as well be in finance, okay? Where I'm going with this, though, is to challenge you. So I've had people in the social work world hang out their own shingles, start their own thing because they don't want to work for anyone else. I've had people work 32 hours instead of 40. I've had people do some type of combo where, they're doing 2 part-time jobs together because it's better because they limit their hours on both and they don't take things home. I don't know. But where I'm going with this is don't let money be the decision maker. And let's be real. You could try the next job and go, yeah, that one sucked, and have to go to someplace else. I've been sold a boat of goods on some interviews. The joke from an HR standpoint is everybody sends their representative to the meeting, both the business and the person. Like, this is what we say we do. And then my clue right now, and it's very true in healthcare, they say, we want you to be part of our family. Oh, that's going bad. That means we're going to work you so hard that, you're not going to be able to do anything else because you're just all worried about the family. You're laughing, Shannon, because
that sounds...
I smiled because he said that.
Sounds like something I said.
Yep. And I told you to end for that stuff. So.
I'm just saying, you can only fall for that trick so many times. It's Lucy in the football.
And I think that's what makes me a little nervous is that I feel like I did get burned pretty badly when I did, switch jobs. And it makes me really nervous about, wherever I might go. Because my job now is what I left. I came back to the same place, just in a different position.
Let me say it to you this way. So now the term is financial independence. You two have actually already achieved it. You may not feel it, but you already have. The old school term was FU money. That's what you got. You got money where you can tell them what to do with the job. We have to get you to feel that in your heart. That's going to go against everything everybody's ever told you. You can't job hop. You can't do this. You can't no. I'm not going to stay at a job that I'm miserable at because I don't need it. That's the freedom you already have.
That does feel nice.
How you feeling, Mike?
Good.
We're going to work on optimizing this. And what you're going to find is, by the way, I think, Shannon, your job change needs to happen earlier, not later. I can see the emotional. And I floated out their idea of take a sabbatical and just kind of take some time to yourself. Think harder about that. Kind of taking a month off and just looking at places rather than jumping to the next and hoping it works. Food for thought. And I'm saying that because you have the options. If it delays paying off the house by an extra 2-3 months, who cares? You're still millionaires. I know it doesn't sit. Every time I talk to people, the first million, nobody ever believes. Yeah. They're like, well, we've been busting our butt. And it wasn't that hard, but it was hard. But it's not that much. I don't have it in my bank account. It's not really $1 million. And I'm like, no. The answer for who's a millionaire is everything you own minus everything you owe. That's it. There's nothing more to it. But we have all these I only have this amount in this account and I only have this here. And I'm like, you're still millionaires. And if you're millionaires and you're miserable at your job or not happy even, I'm like, tell them what to do with it. Give your 2 weeks notice and call it a day. People go, well, what am I going to do for next job? I don't know. Who cares?
Makes me sweat, but yeah, all right.
What I'm doing, by the way, is we've talked now for an hour. And what I'm hearing is you two are doing great. We need to, there's some optimization we'll do. That's fine. You two are going to learn a whole lot about taxes that you don't want to learn about, but you're in Connecticut. You have to learn about taxes. There's some tax optimization things we're going to do. I'm going, well, whatever that weird, crazy idea you have, let's do it. If the weird, crazy idea is retiring at 45, cool. Go travel the world. All right, so we're going to send you some homework. In the homework, it's going to have a financial information form. We're going to grab all the information. It's going to take you about an hour or two to fill out because it's going to ask for statements, copies of tax returns, all that. We're going to review all that. So for example, we'll ask for all your insurance statements because great example we find often is people have their house underinsured. Well, that's a big problem for you. You've got an asset there that's underinsured or whatever it is. Another one I find out with child-free folks, they don't have disability insurance. Disability insurance is really important. Life insurance, not so much. or whatever else. So we'll pull that all apart. Next time we get together, we're going to do a little bit. I want to get a little better on your expenses because I want to show you that you can retire earlier than you think you can. And we're going to start walking you through the process. And the way we do it is each meeting will take on 1 to 2 topics. You bring 1 or 2 topics you want to talk. I'll bring 1 or 2, and we'll keep bullying. Our overall process is about 77 items. We don't try to do it all at once. This question on goals, I'm going to keep poking at you, and something will come out. What I expect to happen with you two, because I've seen your situation before, we're going to build all your stuff in the financial planning software. I'll show you all the numbers. You'll get to a point where you believe me on that you're good. Then you'll come up with a set of goals. Like it's almost like you can't think until you feel like, all right, I've got a strong foundation. I got it there. We'll also get into topics. We'll talk about, planning for your parents and your long-term care and estate planning and all that. I want to make sure we're pointing in the right direction first before I start tinkering with the finances and the structure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't think so. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
All right, I have one more question for Mike. So
Yes.
Shannon dragged you to this. Was it as bad as you thought it would be, or like different?
I wasn't hesitant to come to this. No, it was fine. Yeah.
I was curious though. I didn't really say much about I did a little bit, I guess, but because I know you did an episode with another couple and it was, a lot of questions about goals. And I think I kind of mentioned that, but didn't talk too much. So I was sort of curious to see what you would think of the first.
I came in completely blind. Yeah, completely blind. But no, I was looking forward to it. So
What you're going to find, by the way, every time I do this with couples, you'll have like 7 conversations in between now and the next meeting. Like, well, what about this? And what about that? Oh, that was so nice when you said you care about, like, it just starts poking at things. And what I expect and what I'm used to is next meeting, you're like, so we thought about this. That's wrong. This is the right one. And whatever it is. And that's okay. Your biggest challenge is going to be what's next after paying off the house.
yeah, I agree.
I worry not necessarily about settling. I tend to worry in the boring middle about drama. And drama is like, all right, we've done all it. We checked the boxes. Like, we're not trying to do anything hard now. And your body's like, we've been trying to pay off debt forever. And you're like, something's got to be wrong. And weird drama happens. I'm just throwing it out there. It does. All of a sudden, the house is terrible and we need to move. Or like these things, you never believe it. But like when the gold disappears, it's like, now what? And we just start doing weird things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll get you there.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.